Hello, everyone. Welcome back to an episode of UniTea Days. I'm Mai, and I'm joined here with two other members of the team. Would you like to say hello?
Hey everyone, this is Farah. Thanks again for tuning into another episode.
Thank you. And Yura?
Hi, everyone. This is Yura.
Cool. And Yura, on that note, would you like to say what we're going to do today?
Okay, so last episode we talked about why we chose the UK for a place to study, and we thought that it'd be a good idea to continue that topic into another slightly more focused topic, which is why we chose our university basically. And there will be three parts where we'll talk about the educational side of it, accessibility, and student life. I guess this part would be the educational side of it, like rankings, modules, courses, pathways, etc. So, yeah, Mai, would you mind telling us how these educational points help you to choose your university?
Cool. Thanks, Yura. So I did my undergraduate at University of York, where I met these two lovely ladies and the rest of UniTea Days. When I was looking at University of York, I wasn't swayed by the ranking. It was nice because on the website, it used to say top 100 world universities. So you're like, oh, this seems like a reputable university. And I think maybe in some ways it did affect why I kept going back to the website. All in all, it didn't really affect my module choices or my course. It was the actual content from the department, saying like what kind of modules the department offered. So I was really swayed by languages, and by chance I found that you could do a degree in linguistics, which I had no idea what it was. So I kept going back to various universities. So I think, if I remember correctly, we had to apply for 5 universities at UCAS, which is a website where you apply for UK universities. And I think all of them had something to do with languages, mainly English and linguistics. And the thing that pulled me to University of York was the fact that I could learn about bilingualism and phonetics and phonology. I love French. I love French when I was in uni, high school. And I still do. And what really attracted me to the department at University of York was the fact that I could learn French alongside my degree. In hindsight, I wish I did French as part of my degree because that was an option. But I was like, no, I'm going to stick to English language and linguistics and then do French as an additional thing after my day at uni. So that was really interesting. That's how I chose University of York. But when I was looking at my master's, ranking was important to me. I think I applied to UCL on a whim when UCL gave me an offer, and I visited it when I was visiting my sister, dropping my sister off at university, and I saw that it was #1 in education. Like everyone knew UCL, so I was like, okay, if I got an offer, an unconditional offer from UCL, that means I'm good enough to be in the university. So that's why I took it, and and I decided to stay on for another year after my master's to do a teacher training program. So that's kind of the hindsight of how I found my universities of choice. Ranking could be important, but not really at first, because I feel like I got advice from people saying that if you're planning on doing a master's, your undergraduate doesn't really matter. As long as you can get into a good university, that's good enough. But Fa, I think you had to look at rankings for your choice.
Yes,
Do you like to plan?
unfortunately. Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. So I like how Mai put it. So in my case, it was a bit different because I was actually a sponsored student in Malaysia. So basically, for us sponsor students, we were pretty much told to look at rankings, and it had to be the top 100 universities. So for me, as Mai described earlier, when we applied through UCAS, which is the portal, we had to put 5 options. So for me, I put several universities, and York was one of them, of course. And I got several offers. They were all for English language and linguistics, which was the same course that Mai went to as well in York. And the main reason, actually, why I chose York over the other universities, the other offers, was because I've lived in London before. I've lived in Nottingham, so it's basically the south and the middle. But I've never went up north. So I thought, maybe it would be interesting for me to actually live up in Yorkshire, up a bit north. So that's one of the reasons why I chose York over the others. And of course, it was different. For me, I wanted to escape that city life because I know there's going to be a lot of Asian students, there's going to be a lot of Malaysians. I wanted to be more independent. I wanted to be a bit more, how to say, like, experience different things. So being in London and Nottingham previously, that was a bigger city. So it wasn't, I didn't feel as challenged, if that makes sense. Like it felt too comfortable if I were to go back. So I decided to go to another part of the UK. And while choosing the course itself, it wasn't really, it was kind of a no-brainer for me because previously, before degree life, I actually did a diploma, and it was in teaching English as second language. So I was sort of trained to be a teacher, but I didn't, at the end of the diploma, I didn't feel like I wanted to be a teacher, if that makes sense. So I thought, okay, maybe I should get out from teaching. Yeah, so I thought maybe I should get out of teaching and just focus on English, the language itself. And English language and linguistics in Malaysia, it's not as common as how it would be in Western countries. So I figured it would be a good chance for me to take up this course instead, learn something that's on a more broader spectrum, and I could at least take up a bit of each. So I can do like phonetics, I can do syntax, I can do things like sociology or social linguistics. And I liked that flexibility because during diploma days, it was pretty much fixed for us. We couldn't really choose our subjects. We didn't have as much freedom as how it would be in overseas universities. So yeah, I mean, I didn't really fuss about what particular topic I wanted to go into. Like, let's say, for example, I'm not so rigid on syntax. It's for me, it's more about exploring what is available under this course. So I try to do as much as I can. But in terms of what felt right, like when you're asking about how do you actually choose your modules, so once you entered the program, what feels right for you? I think that's where you have to pay attention in first year, especially. So I know that first year, as we know, it's just a pass or fail. Some students, it's considered a honeymoon period, right? So we don't really try our best to score. That's completely normal. It's understandable. You're just fresh out of high school. That's the sensible thing for you to do. But my advice for you guys is that at least know what subjects you're doing, because you have to know for certain that like have a glance through like what subjects you'll be doing in second year, because some of the modules that you want to pick during second year, you might have some prerequisites. So those are things that you have to score, or at least like know that you can cope with during first year, or else second year will just be horrible for you. So yeah, that's my piece of advice for you guys. And how about you, Yura? How was it like? What made you choose York back then?
It's actually funny because in the beginning, I actually did not want to go to York at all.
Oh,
Yeah, I remembered I refused to go to York because their requirements is so high. And back then, York was like top 5 or top 10. I can't remember. But basically, it's really good for psychology. And I was scared because I don't think that I'm that smart. Like, I'm smart enough to go there. Um, I took psychology in my foundation year, so I had to go into psychology when I have to choose the university. And with psychology, it's a bit different because you can choose different types of psychology, from applied psychology, cognitive neuroscience, psychology in education, and all that. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to focus on one type of psychology. I want to learn psychology in whole first, then decide during my master's degree with which part of psychology I want to get into. That's also an advice. So during your undergraduate, don't start with something specific. Unless if you love it, then go ahead. But if you want to explore more, if you're more curious, then pick something broad-ish. Yeah.
I have to agree with that. That's so
Yeah.
true.
Really?
I agree too. I think before I found York, like I wanted to go into speech therapy, but I didn't want to be limited. I didn't want to spend 3 years doing speech therapy and end up hating it and not being qualified to do anything else. So that's why I chose linguistics. So I completely agree about being broad and then going to specifics.
That's true.
I was just saying because I applied to York for psychology in education at first and not psychology. And and then I joined their open day and took the psychology in education open day, and I thought like this is not for me. So another advice, if you could join the virtual open day, go ahead and join virtual open day, because that will show you everything about the modules, the things that you will learn, the courses, and all the things that you need to work on, I guess. Do you guys join that?
Yeah, and
I didn't have the chance to.
was it virtual for you, Yura?
No, I went to York for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, as an overseas student, you're kind of limited.
Yeah.
But
That's true.
But I think if you ever get the opportunity to, especially now with COVID, everything's virtual. So now's
that's
the time to go to those virtual meetings. But for me personally, I was lucky enough to be able to visit York in person. Not for the visit or open day, but literally just to see the university. And luckily, York was the only, I was going like around UK to visit universities, and York was the only one who responded. And not only did I meet a lecturer, but I also met a student. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So I met a lecturer and a student from the linguistics department. So yeah, I agree with you, Yura. Definitely go into, if you ever have the chance to visit the university, do it.
That's true. So how about you, Yura? So you continued on your master's in York. So was there anything different when you were studying as a master's student?
Okay, so I took undergraduate psychology, but on my master's degree, I took sociology and computer science, which is like very different, like way left.
Yeah.
Right. Probably I should explain this as well. So when you're applying for master's degree, at least for York, they would ask you that you need to score a 2-1, which is I can't remember what is it called in upper
First, second class.
second class, right?
Upper second class. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically most master's degree would ask you to have an upper second class and graduate with a similar background as your master's degree. So when I applied to social media and interactive technologies, they were a bit wary because I come from a psychology degree. Wait, no, social media and interactive technology was okay with psychology, but I was actually going to apply to the computer science part, and there's a bit of a worry because I took psychology and there's no computer science background. And they were also worried about my grades because back then I was a 2-2, and they bluntly said that we might not accept you. And I'm like, Yeah, just to give people a heads up, like if you want to get a master's degree, find out what they're asking for, what grades, and whether your undergraduate degree can help you to get into that master's degree. Because some master's degree don't accept. For example, if you do undergraduate business, then sometimes you cannot go into master's degree engineering. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing that you have to look out for. What else did I consider? Um, the modules as well. What I saw was University of York has a lot of interesting master's degrees course, like social media and interactive technologies. It's like a combination between sociology and computer science, and it's so different from other like universities. I guess that's why I chose that. Yeah, I guess that's it. And oh yeah,
Yes.
so when you apply for a master's degree, you need personal statement and your CV and your grades. It's a
And grades.
yeah, it's a little bit different with undergraduate.
Undergraduate. Sorry, just asking as well. Both of you guys can answer this actually.
Yeah.
So because you guys went on to continue your masters, did you guys have to find supervisors as well for your research project?
No.
Yeah.
Because we've had like those sort of questions before, especially for students who are looking into research projects and stuff like that. They do worry with
Yeah.
the sort of people that they might be supervised by.
Yeah.
And I know that some of my peers they would go into that much detail. They will look into the staffs of each university for their department and look at who are the ones teaching that program.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're that kind of student, like you want to go into research and you might want to collaborate with certain lecturers or academics, then please by all means do so. All the information is on the website for each university, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
never know. So that can actually help you with deciding your university. So that's something that's a bit more specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, can explore the options for each universities as well.
Oh, and may I add, if you guys are like into research and want to go to a university where research is like their top thing, try to look into Russell Group University because I heard that Russell Groups are
true.
Russell Group universities are the ones that are like very heavy research based.
That's true.
I think-
And just to add on to Yura's point as well, so most of the rankings for universities, the higher your ranking, usually that's how bigger or broader the research contribution is for those universities.
So if research is one of your things, like Fa said, like look at the staff, maybe even get in contact with them, because it wouldn't hurt for you to have a conversation with the university.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to postgraduates.
That's so true. And always get a head start because sometimes it takes ages for them to reply. You know how busy they are.
Oh yeah.
So be warned, do
Yeah.
it early.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming to a close for this episode. Don't forget, we still have 2 parts, and this is only the first one. So why don't we end it on something interesting? So, ladies, if you could go back to post-high school days, and after hearing all the things that we've discussed on today, would you have chosen a different program back then for university? Or maybe after you've done your degree, so you went on to do masters, would you have chosen something else? Do you have any regrets that you want to share with us? So let's go with Yura first.
Oh, confession time.
Yes.
Well, for my bachelor's degree, I kind of like psychology, so I don't want to change that. But for master's degree, if I knew all of this, I would actually go for computer science, human computer interactions, and user centered design and video game research. Because I didn't know that
Right.
exists until I actually signed up for interactive technologies at York. If I knew that, I would change my course from social media to human computer interactive technologies. So
That sounds very cool.
yeah, I mean, I did my third year research when I was in psychology on video games, and I don't know why I didn't think about actually pursuing that for my master's degree. So yeah, research is important, guys. Like research on the modules.
That's so true. And knowing your options as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Mai?
Oof. I have so many regrets, guys.
That's okay.
That's like, I'm kind of glad. I was gonna say speech therapy, but as I was listening to Yura, my mind kind of wandered to something else, because like I think I mentioned it before that I loved French. I still do, and yeah, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't change the university because I loved it. But I would change my program. So instead of doing English, I would have done French, because I really wish I became fluent in French.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's a regret, because like when I started, yeah, so I did it's called Language for All. Is that the thing that we
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
Yeah, languages for all.
Yeah, so I did that for like what, 2-3 weeks, and then I talked to the tutor and I was like, I'm not becoming fluent. This is exactly like my high school. Like I'm not benefiting anything from this. So I dropped it, and I tried to learn French on my own, or I did a thing like a language exchange program. But for the most part, yeah, I was so jealous of my course mates, because in my final year, there were these two students who were supposed to be a year above us, but they had a year abroad, and I was like, man, like I wish I did that. Like I don't know, I knew I wanted to do a year abroad. I was already abroad, but I wanted to, have more years
Experience.
abroad.
That's true.
So I wish I did French. Yeah, that's something I really wish I did. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. Fa, what is your regret?
For me, it wasn't really a regret. It was kind of the opposite, if that makes sense. So it was after high school. So before I decided, one of the reasons why I decided to do a diploma first was partly because I couldn't decide what I wanted. So I, believe it or not, actually applied for civil engineering, and I
What?
got an offer. Yes. I kid you not. I actually got offered for civil engineering. And then I decided maybe this is not what I want after getting the offer. And I had a lot of like self-reflection during that time, and I thought, if I were to go into this program, would I like it, or would I just end up being miserable? So I thought, okay, screw this. I'm not going to go through the Asian dream of being an engineer or doctor or whatever. I'm just going to go into what I like, which is English language purely. And I thought that, okay, probably start with going into teaching first, like TESOL, because that would be the sensible thing to do, I guess. And then that's how I decided, like, oh, okay, maybe teaching is not for me. I'll just stick with the language. And that's how I ended up with English language and linguistics. So I didn't really have much regret. To be completely honest, that was one of the best decisions I made. But going back to the LFA, the languages for all that Mai mentioned. So me and Yura actually we took up Japanese when we were in York. So that was sort of like an elective or an extra class.
Yeah.
I think my regret was not taking the second part of it. I dropped halfway.
you
Yeah,
did?
because I felt like I could have made the most of it. Yeah, I did. I only joined a few weeks for the second class. I did the first part with you, and then
Wait.
I dropped the second part because I think it was just a bit too much. Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, I thought you took the
Yeah.
exam.
No, I didn't. I only did the first part. So I felt that was kind of a waste, to be honest. But thinking again, would it be a good choice for me to stay on with that? That could be a different story, because third year is insane, y'all. Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that could be
Third year
another
was just
episode.
insane.
Oh.
Yeah, that could be another episode. So yeah, and do I regret going into the program? I don't think so. I mean, the other thing I was thinking of was actually psychology. But
Oh.
Hey.
I only started thinking of this because, as you know, I'm an education counselor now. So I'm doing counseling. But going into psychology and counseling, that will be much more technical, more reading. Would that be something I would enjoy? I'm not so sure either. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to do bits and pieces of it, but to do an entire course for it, that might be something else. So yeah, things to think about, guys, when you're choosing a program.
Oh yeah, for sure. Wow. I think that's a lot to take in for the first episode. A lot to ponder about. So that comes to the end of today's episode. And don't forget that there's going to be two more parts of how we chose our university. It'll be about accessibility and also our student lives.
Also, we'll be posting our Nerd Out series. And it will be about what we learn in the university. So if you guys are curious what we learn, our modules, our research, check that series out. It'll be coming out probably next week.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode, guys. As always, do your magic, like, comment, share, subscribe, put the word out, and we'll see you again soon.